Hey guys, hope everybody's doing well this weekend. Today I'm going to quickly answer a few questions I've been getting through emails and private messages on Facebook. Um, and these are pretty common questions too. So I'm going to touch on three that I get asked the most often. First one is fasted cardio more beneficial during pre-contest periods? Um, there really is neither a major advantage or disadvantage to cardio in a fasted state. Um, there's been tons of studies that show that there's no improvement in body fat percentages, whether you do it, morning, noon, night, whatever it may be. It comes down to the overall context of a diet strategy that matters. Not this incidental stuff of, do it before breakfast, do it right after your workouts, right before you go to bed. Um, the context for training implementation includes the immediate as well as the residual and the cumulative time effects. We're talking day-to-day, week-to-week progress. If your overall diet and schedule fit well to doing cardio, fasted in the morning before breakfast, great, do it then. But there is no major advantage in doing so, in spite of all the industry hype. Um, Myself, in my opinion, if I assign cardio to a client pre-contest, I prefer them to do it in the morning if their schedule fits, for the biggest reason of separating it from their weight training. We're trying to accomplish two different things with the weights than we are with the cardio. I really don't want one interfering with the other. So I try to separate them as much as possible. But this is all individual. It depends on someone's lifestyle, their work, what time they get up, just how much time they have in their day to do all this stuff. So, it's all relative. If you can fit it in before breakfast, great. If not, and you have to do it after training, do it then. If you can only do it at night before you go to bed, do it then. It's going to be the cumulative effects of everything and then your diet strategy to get you in shape. It's not doing cardio first thing in the morning before breakfast that's going to make or break, your progress and results. Question number 2. Is it bad to have carbs at night before breakfast? All right, listen. In a calorie-controlled state, the body has no predisposition to store fat. Honestly, I prefer my clients, depending on the makeup of their nutrition plan, to have carbs before bed. Major reason being, it increases your serotonin levels, which is going to help you sleep better. And sleep is very, very underrated by a lot of individuals. All they think about is training hard and eating their meals every day, not understanding that during sleep is when a major part of your recovery takes place. So that's a major part of progress. So personally, I prefer for my clients to have carbs before they go to bed. Everybody's like, well, you're not going to be active. You're going to be sleeping for, 7 to 10 hours or whatever. And I'm not going to use it. Look, it's the same thing. It's the overall diet structure that's going to make the difference. If you have your carbs for breakfast and then taper them off during the day, or, save them for after training, whatever the thing is that you're doing, it comes down to the complete caloric intake for that day. So as long as calories are controlled, and you're in a calorie deficit, you're not going to store body fats. Yes, there are more optimal ways here and there depending on the individual, but in the grand scheme of things, in the bigger picture, it's not a bad thing to have carbs before you go to bed. Okay? All right. The last one here is a big one with a lot of people. It has to do with motivation. What keeps you motivated to stay with your diet, stay with your training year round, and especially during contest prep. Motivation. This is a big topic. Here's what I believe what motivation is and where it should come from within yourself. Because you can have people, rooting you on, this and that, and that's good for the first few weeks or so, but, that's going to run its course, and you're not going to get anything from anybody else, so it has to come within yourself. So many in the fitness industry suffer self-deception on such a large scale that they have lost perspective on what drives them. Having motivation or passion means having a love of training and or competing. So, you ask yourself a question like, do you remember when training and competing wasn't about anything else than the enjoyment of the process and not about, the end result? People with a pure motivation seldom experience stress or anxiety before competition. They mostly experience just excitement and anticipation. They experience training on a much deeper level than it just being about workouts. This is kind of like what being in the zone is all about in athletics. One problem many have is if they are successful early in their career, they win their first few shows. This usually means that they aspire to meet even greater demands, and this is where passion and the pure motivation can be altered. All of a sudden, a person becomes immersed in the how-tos of everything from diet to training to competition. Learning is great, but it can take on an obsessive, characteristic that take people farther away from their true motivation, and where it all started. And then all of a sudden, obsessive behaviors take over. All your motivation becomes ego-driven, and at the expense usually of everything else in your life. When this happens, the judge and measure mentality kind of takes over. For example, people start measuring their moods based on, numbers. Whether it's on a weight scale of how much weight they've lost or gained, will dictate what mood they're in for the day. The excitement of just doing it for the joy is, gone for the most part. These people don't even stop to ask themselves if they actually enjoy their workouts, or the challenges that come with pre-contest preps. Winning and deserving comes to be associated with suffering. This is an ego and more of an amateur trait, or even a sign of a very insecure person. Instead of comparing and competing, comparing and competing mentality, positive motivation will always remember the path to a rewarding experience. Is based on aspiring and appreciating and seeing how far you've come from where you started. There is an old saying. What is it? Real winners forget they are even in a race, and real winners just love to run, if I'm correct. So, if you're experiencing stress or anxiety about competing, then you've lost perspective of what you were doing it or why you're doing it. If your motivation is pure and not ego-driven, then suffering changes to striving, and discipline and commitment become, a challenge, which is a good thing. This is more of a drive based on motivation, and proper motivation will always yield an enjoyment of the process and celebrating your event, whether it's a contest or your wedding day or whatever it may be. If you're not competing with an attitude of celebration on the day of your contest, then your motivations are probably less than pure, and you need to address them. Competing or becoming competitive may be a way for you to experience joy on a grand or large scale, or it may just end up being a reflection of a negative ego. If you're motivated as an athlete by anger, ego, even emotional voids, like a lack of respect or lack of self-respect, or a need for validation or recognition, these driving forces will not give you a good experience of competing, and will more than likely result in foolish, practices. People totally lose perspective and need to control everything. For instance, like dieters, they lose perspective a lot of time, and a good or bad day is usually reflective of a good or bad day of dieting. You know, if they missed a meal or if they cheated or whatever it may be, they have a bad day. You know, if they hit all their numbers exactly on the by the number and to the T, you know, they have a great day. And this isn't a good thing. Uh, you know, like figure girls, you know, a lot of times they can't even enjoy a piece of cake anymore. You know, they measure and judge everything, and this means either, you know, guilt associated with the dessert that they ate, or it can, you know, become a compulsive behavior that leads to them eating the whole cake and binging. Um, this type of thing takes them further and further away from a positive motivation. They end up losing the initial excitement that they had with training and the diet challenges. You know, instead it becomes all about getting that first place trophy, getting that pro card, what their competition looks like, or what other people are saying or might say about them. Um, I mean, every good athlete competes to win, but the best athletes in the world do not attach, you know, their happiness in their life to the outcome. You know, win or lose, their happiness is less attached to the outcome of the event and more towards striving to improve. You know, what can they do to improve next year or the next year? The truth is, often an athlete needs to get out of his or her own way in order to succeed and, you know, proceed in their goals in life. Um, and most of the time, this can be done by working with a good coach. You know, there's a lot of coaches out there, obviously, but one that truly is invested in their client. You know, keeping them healthy, doing things because they need to be doing them, not because it makes them look good. But that's another topic. So you need to look, you know, inside yourself and find your positive motivation or what purely motivates you, and let that guide you. You know, enjoy and appreciate the challenges that come with contest preparation and living a healthy lifestyle in general. You know, don't measure things in logbooks, or if you get a first place trophy, uh, you know, measure it by, you know, the feelings that you get, you know, in yourself when you say, you know, that's a great job, I want to do it again. Um, so, you know, motivation in general needs to come from within yourself. It can't come from someone else. I mean, it's great to have somebody to push you and a coach and to keep you accountable, keep you structured, keep you on the right path, but the motivation needs to come from within. Um, so, you know, just kind of take a step back, look at why you're doing things, and then see if you're doing them for the right reasons.